So I'd like to welcome Kathy Moore. 5 tips to become a confident speaker. Kathy Moore, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Division Director, and welcome everybody. We have lots of ground to cover, but like I mentioned while we were waiting for Tina to be able to pull everybody else into the session, I have taught this several times, so I'm perfectly fine with answering any questions. I do think it's going to be better to keep the questions in the chat and let the chat masters handle it because we do have so many people here today. Let me go ahead and get this on the right setting and we'll get started. And please feel free if you have anything in particular you want to get out of this session today, put it in the chat and Kevin or Tina can let me know. But what I was talking about when we first started, I'm happy to share this PowerPoint. It's not the absolute most current branded version. It was the previous branded version, and I just haven't had time to update it. But if you want to take this, make it your own, split it into smaller segments, do a workshop, have different people in your club talk about a specific tip. There's a lot of good information in here that I have gathered over the years from speaking since I was in my 30s, which was 30 something years ago. So I did start getting paid to speak when I opened my hypnosis business many years ago, 20 years ago. Before that, I was already teaching. I've been teaching and doing workshops for a long time. And these are the things that I've gathered along the way. Here's what we're going to be covering today. Some of you guys may recognize my buddy Jason, my partner in crime, is what I usually call him. This was a TLI that he was the manager, co-host, presenter of back when we used to be able to meet in person. This was an actual live TLI about 3 years ago, I think. What we're talking about today is what makes a great speaker, and then some tips that we will go through. Breathing and smiling, being prepared, connecting with your audience, which I think is the most important. And we have somebody on this call who is fantastic at it. And hopefully she'll be able to speak because I don't know how her audio is doing right now. But one of my mentors and one of the people that I think is an absolutely amazing presenter is Miss Linda Williams, Mrs. Linda Williams. She's on this call and hopefully she'll share some info when we get to that point. Speak every chance you get. Well, I'm kind of over that right now because, like Tina said, we're getting ready to finish this last DLI, last presentation. I still have to do a interview for district office at 8:30 tonight, but hopefully I'll be done talking after that. And really, the thing that I think, besides, it's closely related to connecting to your audience, but it's very important as well is getting comfortable in your own skin. So I'll go through this presentation and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end to answer any specific questions you might have. Now, I want people to put this in the chat. How do you know a great speaker when you see one? And then the chat masters can let me know what they're seeing showing up in the chat. How do you know a great speaker when you see one?
They make me laugh or smile.
Okay, that's a connection.
They
Okay,
capture my attention.
excellent,
The conversation sounds natural.
excellent.
They can make the complex simple in a connection way. They're engaging, they're confident, they're inclusive, they're confidence in their mannerisms. They look relaxed. Confidence, natural and relatable.
All good answers. And one of the things I learned from Linda Williams, I'm gonna call on her a lot and call her out a lot. She's a former school teacher, school principal, and I've taught a lot of classes, not nearly as many as she has, but that's one of the things I like to do is call on people by name. So if we don't hear from you, there may be some point in time where I ask you by name to share your thoughts. So pay attention. Now, this is from my realm as being a hypnotist. A lot of you know I've been a hypnotist. This is a side job, like I have extra time to work another job. But I've been a hypnotist for 20 years, and this is a hypnotic technique and something that I use, especially with athletes, people that are trying to develop, improve a skill. I want everybody to close your eyes for a minute and think about somebody that you think of as a great speaker. Close your eyes and think about somebody that you think is a great speaker. And I want you to notice what it feels like to be in that body. What does it feel like to be in that great speaker's body? Notice their posture, their breathing, just everything about that experience. And now I would like you guys to share in the chat, what did you notice being in that body? What was it like? What do you see in chat, Master?
I am seeing relaxed, confidence, high energy, facial expression, energetic, exciting, confident, strong, relaxed, great energy, smiling and engaged, charisma, flow, great energetic, upright posture, at peace, joyful, calm.
That to me is, those are great answers. And that to me is really what makes the difference between a good speaker and a great speaker. You can tell by watching them and listening to them that they absolutely love what they do. I know there's a saying out there, it's been around for a long time, for people who are nervous when they're speaking. And I've seen it many times. I work with a lot of people with fear of public speaking, to imagine the audience in their underwear. I disagree with that. And I think most people that are great speakers would also disagree. What I do is I feel the love. I feel the love from the audience. Yes, it might be a little bit more difficult when you're working online, but it can still be done. I mean, look at Mike Carr. Look at what he accomplished virtually. And if you haven't seen his speech, I highly recommend Googling 2020 World Champion Public Speaking and watching his 7-minute speech. It even better, we have on our website a class. Mike Carr spent an entire hour giving us tips and advice on how to be a great speaker. It doesn't really get any better than getting advice from a world champion. So please feel free. If you have any trouble finding it, it's the tmd55.org/continuing education. And when you see Mike Carr's picture, you click on it and it's going to take you to the YouTube link. You can also search it on Google and it will take you there. Is there anything else I need to know about, Kev?
No, Roxanne has helped everybody out by giving the website in the chat for Mike Carr's
Thank
speech.
you, Roxanne. Bonus points for you. So some of these tips come from actually me working with people with fear of public speaking. My big thing as a hypnotist is working with people with anxiety. And guess what? Fear of public speaking is the #1 fear in America. I don't think it necessarily holds true in other countries, but here in the United States, it is true. I'm going to give you the first 2 things are to me, the best tips and the cheapest. Breathe and smile. And when we talk about breathing, we're talking about deep diaphragmatic breathing. And that's like starting at the belly, filling your belly up, filling your lungs up. And then as you exhale, make sure you exhale all the stale air out. And you can practice that if you'd like. It's very relaxing. Breathing helps you release serotonin and beta endorphins. Those are our two feel-good chemicals that our brains create on their own. You don't need to have a pharmacy because you have one in your own head. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is smiling. Smiling also releases beta endorphins and serotonin. Beta endorphins, for those of you who do not know, that's the pain management chemical from the brain. Serotonin is the feel-good chemical. So that's my first tip for everybody. And one of the things that a specific technique with breathing that I use a lot with my anxiety clients, you can, it's called whole brain breathing. That's what I named it. You cross your ankles, you cross your wrists. You can either leave your wrists crossed and your arms down, or you can fold them up like this at your chest. Either way is fine. Sit in a comfortable position, close your eyes, and then do the breathing. But as you're breathing, imagine your thoughts floating by as clouds. You're not trying to make them go away. You're not trying to turn them from negative to positive or anything like that. All you're doing is observing them floating by. It's a very, very simple technique, but it works really well. So those are some things that you can do with your body to help you reduce anxiety if you have anxiety about public speaking. Is there anything else I need to know in the chat, Kev?
Nothing yet.
Okay, good, thanks. All right. Like a Boy Scout, be prepared, but you need to prepare in the way that works for you. I have my own specific way. Some of this stuff that I've been teaching for a long time, there's not a whole lot of prep work that I need to do because I've taught it so many times. Bart Lozier's the same way. I imagine Linda's the same way too. Now, if it's some new material that I'm putting together, like the session that you saw today, if you saw Violetta, she put that together specifically for us, and I thought it was fantastic. What I like to do is start out, what is the main purpose that I am trying to accomplish with this presentation? And I put that in one sentence. Can everybody see that? Okay. I'm trying to make sure my pictures are not in the way. And then if it's a 5 to 7 minute speech, some of the people that have been Toastmasters a long time, they know that in a 5 to 7 minute speech, you really only want to do about 3 points. Otherwise, you're going to have too much stuff in a 5 to 7 minute speech. Now, we can have several main points in a speech like this that's going to go on for probably 45 minutes. But in this case, I'm giving specific answers or giving more detail and asking for your input. So still maybe 7 points at the most, but in this case, it was 5 tips. So that's what we're doing today. Then I like to, if it's something I haven't done before, write out a rough draft. If it's a short speech, if it's one like this where I'm doing a presentation, I basically do the outline by putting the PowerPoint together. That's how I get it together. And when I'm preparing a presentation like this, I don't worry about the order of the slides until after I'm done. It's kind of like writing out a speech and then going through and doing a second draft. That's how PowerPoint works for me because I'm very visual. Now, you may have a different way, and that's fine, but you have to find what works for you. I know a lot of people that do not believe in ever writing anything down. They like to do things off the cuff, and if that's what works for them, that's great. I have seen Miss Wilma Igwe, who is also a member of our club at Medtronic. I've asked her at the last minute to do a presentation. She didn't even know she was going to be speaking till she got, 5 minutes before the meeting. And you would swear that she had prepared it for weeks because that's how her brain works. So it really just depends on you and how you like to work. Now, if it's something that I'm getting paid for, which hasn't happened in a while because I've been too busy doing Toastmaster stuff, but back when I was getting paid, I like to, or if it's a really, really important speech that I need to make sure I've got everything exactly like it needs to be, I'm going to record it into a digital recorder, or you can do it on your phone as well. Digital recorder is something that I had for working with clients, and now most of the time we record their stuff on their sessions on their own phones. But whatever works for you, and digital recorders are not expensive. But the reason I do that is because then you can actually rehearse while you're doing other things. I record the speech, and then I might be like, one time I was painting my parents' house and I had the speech and I just let it play over and over. Or sometimes when we used to have to drive to work, I'd be driving to work and just letting it play while I was driving. That is a way for your subconscious to start picking up on the speech, because you don't want to memorize a speech. You want to have the basic plan of it, the basic idea, and then change it the way that it needs to be. When you hear it, you'll notice, oh, I need to put an emphasis here instead of there. Another way is to video. And that's also really important because you see how to make your gestures work with your speech. And we've got some heavy hitter contestants on here that hopefully will share some pointers with you in just a minute. The advantage of using the recorder and letting it go into your subconscious is really the most powerful computer there is on the planet. And it can take that information and put it in your brain in a way that's going to be most effective for you. I also like to hear my voice, because then I can hear where, if you just write it out, you'll probably notice some of the stuff you've written, it fits well in the written word, but it doesn't go good conversational. So those are the kind of things you can look for when you're listening to yourself on audio or video. And then, like I said, I let it play over and over till I get the basic gist of it, but I don't have it memorized. Can anybody, we've got a lot of contestants on here. Can anybody give me, just unmute yourself, maybe Amy or Linda or somebody else that's got a lot of speaking experience, and tell me what the disadvantage is of memorizing your speeches, especially if it's an hour long.
Oh, Kathy, I'm the wrong person for that question because I do memorize. I memorize
But now
words.
a contest speech is 5 to 7 minutes. I don't think it's a problem. But
Yeah, the other one, like if it's a seminar for an hour or a training for an hour, you want to have bullet points and you want to really just know in your heart what you want to say and keep it simple so that you're never flustered by, oh my gosh, I can't remember my exact words.
That's what I was looking for. The deer in the headlights,
Right, exactly.
especially for new people. If you are just now learning how to do this and you try to memorize, that's a great way to lose your train of thought. It's happened to me before, but when you have more experience, you know, hey, those people out there in the audience, they don't know what I'm getting ready to say. Linda, share some of your wisdom with us. You
Okay,
didn't know I
I
was going
go
to
the
make you
bullet
a
point way.
co-star.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. The thing I tell people is live your speech. I am just be in the moment in that speech. And if you are just living it, it is so different from a memorized speech, which will sound artificial. But if you're just living it, I only have bullet points. I never write it out, but I do the bullet points.
Thank you.
And so I'm sure.
See, there was a reason why we had her on this call.
I'm hitting.
Linda, you might want to share your tips in the chat
those main ideas, but other than that,
if you don't mind sharing some of those tips in chat, Linda, because you were kind of breaking up. Is there anybody else who's been doing this a while that wants to share any of their tips? I'm scrolling through, you know, I'm gonna call on you if I see you.
Kathy, Roxanne put something in here that I think is a good point. It says, if you have questions from the audience, you might lose your train of thought.
Yes, if you have it memorized, you may definitely lose your train of thought. That is a great point. Thank you. All right. If you think of anything else, just put it in the chat, but we're going to move on to the next one. I'm not sure how much time I have, so just keep me posted, you guys. This to me is one of the most important things about being a great speaker. And this is where I said Linda Williams excels at it. And you heard what she said. It's about being in the moment. It's being real. And that's about connecting with your audience. It's not about you. When you're giving a talk, it's not about you. It's about what you can share with them and what do they want to get out of the experience. And that's what makes somebody an amazing speaker. And I can share some sad stories with you. Like I said, I've been paid to speak many times. The worst thing you can do is not know your audience when you go, especially when you're getting paid to speak. I made that mistake one time. It wasn't that I didn't try to know them, but they weren't very forthcoming when I got the contract and started planning out what I was going to do. And when that happens, it's usually a bust because you're not really connecting with them because you don't know them. I won't go into the details with it. I've had both things happen. I've actually also had things happen where I tried to tell the person who was paying me, I don't think this is going to work with your group, but he insisted. And guess what? We ended up having to do something on the fly anyway. So trust your own instincts as well. The thing about connecting is it's about we or it's about you. It's not about I or me. I already mentioned knowing your audience. Linda's really great at using empathy. I think Liv Mitchell is really great at using empathy as well. Show your vulnerability. Even though some of us on this call have lots and lots of speaking experience, I just got through sharing with you something that didn't go well for me. And the more you speak, the more things you're going to have happen like that. So it's important if you're trying to teach people about
a long way to go,
that we share what doesn't go right, not just what does go right. Making eye contact, I think everybody knows that. We learned that in Toastmasters. And as Linda already shared with us, being authentic, being the real you. If you're not, you need to dress for the audience, but if you're not really a suit and tie kind of person, you might do business casual. There's lots of different things you can do. I like to be kind of theatrical sometimes. once upon a time I did a keynote for Keep Texas Beautiful. I went as my alter ego, Aunt Maybelle, who came from West Texas. There's a little clip of that on YouTube. If you like doing crazy stuff like that and that works for you, great. But it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. You see Linda, if you see her present, she is dressed to the nines. That's not really my style, but I would kind of be shocked if I didn't see Linda dressed up that way. So you really have to be true to yourself. Is there
Kathy?
anything in the chat I need to?
Yes, Kathy, we've got a question of how do you know your audience? And Linda responded, you can get to know your audience by watching their expressions and adjust as you go.
And in the case of being paid to speak, when you're planning that gig, you need to talk to the people who are paying you and find out ahead of time, what is this group like? If you can get to meet them ahead of time, and even if you're not, you can, if it's a corporation, you can go on their website, find out as much as you can about them and ask questions. For people who are going to be in the audience, see if you can talk to some of them and ask questions. Does that help? Is there other questions on that topic?
Sorry, Roxanne said watching expressions can be challenging online.
But it can be done. Yeah, like right now, I'd have to stop the PowerPoint to be able to see very many people because most people have their camera turned off because we have so many people in this group and that helps with the bandwidth. But if you're not using a PowerPoint, just have it set up on the gallery view and ask people to leave their camera turned on and then you can see a lot. But that's another good point. When we're doing speeches, I like to look for the people who are nodding and smiling and draw in that energy. You know, if you start looking for the people that are yawning or look bored, you're kind of going to drag your own energy down. So focus on the people that seem like they're interested in hearing what you have to say.
Kathy, just one more quick one.
Mhm.
Richard said, when in person, I try to arrive early to meet attendees.
That's perfect. Hopefully we'll be able to do that again someday soon, Richard. Anything else on this one? I know this is a real important point. And like I said in the beginning, doing a workshop where you take each one of these points maybe and a different speaker presents on it in your club. I mean, I think that would make an amazing program to draw in new potential club members. This one is very important. So if you have somebody in your club, like in our club, believe it or not, it's not me, it's Wilma Igwe and Michael Belfort can tell you, people just are mesmerized by Wilma. So if I was doing this as different speakers with different points, I would have Wilma doing connecting with the audience because she's really amazing at it. Anything else?
Kathy, we've got a quick one here, and this is a good one. Ash asked, when I look at my audience, I sometimes find they look like deer in headlights, which can distract me.
Okay.
I've been advised to remind myself that they may just be processing what I'm saying. Thoughts?
Yes. I think my co-trainers on this presentation can agree with this. If you look out in the audience and they have deer in the headlights, you're either speaking over their head or you're speaking too fast. I would stop and say, is there something I need to clarify for you? Because if you see a lot of people like that, they're not getting it. I think it especially happens if you're talking maybe to a group that does not have English as their first language. If you have humor that doesn't necessarily resonate with them, you might have that situation. So that was a great question, Ash.
And let's see, Roxanne, she's so good.
You're getting extra credit, Roxanne.
Yeah, when I am training, we have introductions first. Part of the introduction is something fun about you. People feel much more comfortable after the fun introductions. And then Amy added, I don't think it's overkill to state at the onset of a presentation, you will benefit from this presentation because 1, 2, 3, the different reasons.
Those are great ideas. I hope need to be sure to save the chat too, so we can share that with everybody. Anything else before I move on?
Not at this time.
Good. Excellent. You're doing a fantastic job, Kevin Clark.
Thank you.
Now, see, this is a slide that I never got time to review. I did this for one group and added this, created this slide as like an advertising tool. So now I'm just giving you an example of how you can take a presentation, pick one slide and use it as a flyer. This was an accident, but you're getting the benefit. Mentioned this in the beginning when we went over the summary of the tips, and this is speak every chance you get. It's just like exercise. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Hey, if any of you are interested in speaking more or doing trainings and you haven't been doing them, reach out to me. I'll be, even though TLIs are done for the year, yay, we still have training Tuesday, and we're always looking for people to sign up to train next year. It's a great way to build that muscle. And I'll tell you a fun story. We had a young man, he's with the 210 Toasties, used to be called Zachary Club. First year as a president. He reached out, he was so inspired when he took the training from Jean Ramsey, and Jean Ramsey was running the training only because she was supposed to be the Zoom host for the class, and the trainer, I don't know, something happened with the trainer and the trainer didn't show up. So Jean ended up teaching the class off the cuff, on the fly, and Daniel was so impressed with her, he wrote to me and said, I would so love to help with trainings. Can I do that? Heck, anybody that knows me knows I right away reached back out to him and said, would you like to teach president next time? And he's taught 2 or 3 classes for us at president, because that's the only officer he's been so far. But hey, I put people to work right away. I'm happy to have it. I would love to see Miss Amy Samet teach a class on contests if she decides she wants to do it. So that's how it works. You just like put people on the spot. Usually they'll say, oh yeah, or they'll kind of sneak out, one or the other. Any questions about this part? And I will tell you, there are lots of places to speak. If you really want to get serious, we have a young man in Kingsville, which is outside of Corpus, who I met him last year. He was chartering a club and then COVID hit. So he finally ended up joining one of the Corpus clubs because the new club was on hold, but his goal from the beginning was to compete. And he joined a few months ago. He finished his last speech that was required in Pathways for him to be eligible just this past week. And he's already going to be doing some training. He is a professional trainer, and he's going to be teaching some classes for us in continuing education. So stay tuned for that. We have training classes every Tuesday night on Training Tuesday. This is another one that I think is very, very important, and it relates to connecting with your audience. If you don't, and you've heard this before, I'm sure, if you don't love you, nobody else is going to love you, and you are not going to be able to love other people. So you need to get comfortable in your own skin, do what works for you. Some people don't move a whole lot when they're in giving a speech because that's what works for them. Some people are very flamboyant. I don't even have enough room in this little box. But do what works for you, dress appropriate for the audience, but what is comfortable for you. And know your own strengths and take advantage of them. Some people are great storytellers. I've heard a lot of contests this weekend, contestants. Some of those people were excellent singers. They sang as part of their speech. If you're good at it, use it to your advantage. And then the thing that impressed me about my car was he's been competing for 25 years, but he continued to get feedback from other people and to hone his skills. So that's the other thing that I think is very important about getting comfortable. Using what works for you and then getting feedback from other people, how it looks to them and what you can improve on your experience. Because a lot of times we don't realize maybe we have repetitive motions, maybe we have an eye twitch, whatever it is, you need to be aware of it or you really can't do anything about it. All right. This is I'm in teacher mode now. We're over to the review. You guys can put this in chat, or I don't want everybody to speak at once, but if somebody wants to shout out what these mean, what's that first point? What does the B
Breathe.
stand? Breathe, that's right. What's the S stand for?
Smile.
That's right. You guys are doing great. What's the P stand for?
Prepare. Be prepared.
Thank you. Very good. How about the C? There's two C's, but give me one of them.
Connect to your audience.
Connect.
Connect.
How
Connect.
how about the S?
Speak every chance you get.
Thank you. And what's the final C that I just talked about?
Comfortable.
Comfortable in your own skin. You guys get an A+ on this. And here's some resources that you can use. Like I said, I'm happy to send this PowerPoint to anybody who wants to chop it up, use different pieces of it, or just you want the links. Mohammed Ghatani did a great session on the power of words. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend the session that Mike Carr did for us. I think I first put this together before Mike Carr was the champion, which is why he's not on here. 17 public speaking tips that help you crush your next presentation. That's on the Muse. And then there's a YouTube video, 6 public speaking tips to hook any audience. Another thing I would highly recommend is Google
ready.
World Champions of Public Speaking and watch some of those speeches and see who you think is connecting with the audience and who you think could do a better job of connecting. All right, guys, I'm gonna stop sharing. You have been a great audience. We're just about out of time, but is there anything in particular that anybody wants to share or that you have a question about? Was there anything we missed in the chat?
Just they want to make sure that we're going to share this deck, which we are.
Okay.
Tina's taken attendance, so she's got the list of attendees.
Yeah, we'll send it as an attachment for you. Yes, and if you guys do actually do what I would love to see somebody do is take this presentation, break it up and make a workshop, have different speakers do different parts. I would love to get videos or just a write-up. We would love to hear about it. We can put it in the news magazine. I know Harlan would love to hear about it. So that's why I did this, because when you're teaching something, you want to be able to make it replicatable where you do it, but it's in a way so that other people can take it and then do their own program. So that's really what's in my heart, is that we're able to spread the joy and spread the wealth of public speaking and what people can get out of it, because that's what Toastmasters is all about. Now, I've had two people that I put on the spot several times, and that's Linda Williams and Amy Samet, and I would love it if you guys would share any additional words of wisdom. We got a couple more minutes left. Aren't you glad you came to this class, Amy and Linda?
I am, because that's what we're all here for, is to become better speakers and more effective communicators. And anyone who's
voluntold.
I heard a wonderful quote from a Dax Shepard podcast that I would love to share. And
Great.
he was talking about how he's an actor, and for the longest time, he hated going to auditions because they were so stressful and so potentially demoralizing if he didn't get the part.
Right.
But then he reframed his approach, which was, I'm an actor because I love to act.
Mhm.
And an audition is an opportunity to act. So look at every speech you give as an opportunity to do the thing that you're trying to get better at, or the thing that you love to do, and just bring your joy.
That is a great message for this whole audience. Shout out to Amy, everybody. You can
Thank you.
give her a high five. Now, where did I lose Linda? Thank you for sharing that, Amy.
My pleasure.
Here I am, Kathy.
You can run, but you can't hide.
I've been
Give
here. I
us
just
your words of wisdom.
Well, the main thing I see about this presentation is that the idea of sharing it with our clubs, because that's the whole purpose of Toastmasters, is to become better communicators. And if we can take this and adapt it for our clubs and spread the wealth, we will have done our clubs a real service. So this is a very appropriate topic for a TLI. And thank you so much for
I
sharing.
learned from the best.
I'm already, the wheels are running, turning about
know
how
your
to
brain
share it in
works.
our club.
I guess it was about 3 years ago, if you guys saw that picture at the beginning with Jason Wald. That was the one time I've ever had to be a TLI chair. I was doing it to get my DTM, and Darla Peak and I did it. And Linda was the first person I called. Can you please present in this meeting? And I've always tried to be on any call where she does a training, because she's always amazing. So if you get a chance to hear her speak, I highly recommend it. You can go to their club meetings, because they're there in Fredericksburg, but you don't have to drive. So,
True.
shameless plug for the Fredericksburg Club. Any last minute questions or concerns? We're just about out of time, but we will make sure everybody has a copy, because I sincerely do want everybody to, if you can use some of this for your club, I would love to see it.
Hey, Kathy, the one thing I wanted to say is that it's helped me since I started is having a great leadership. Having you believe in me and having you, push me to do those speeches and go visit the Canada office. And hey, we found a Toastmasters out there. I want you to go out there. You having that confidence in me not to go and mess up and do anything, stupid, but just having that confidence in me really.
That's my shameless plug from my fellow club member, Michael Belfort. He told me a couple of years ago he was gonna have to go do training in Canada. And I said, hey, you need to see what clubs you could go visit. And they treated him like royalty. So that worked out good for all of us. So thanks, everybody. Is there any last minute questions or concern? We're pretty much out of time. Roxanne, I need to send you a gold star. Do you have anything else you want to share with us?
I wanted to follow up on what Amy said about joy. You might notice that I have facial paralysis. I look a little bit like Popeye talking out of the side of my mouth, but bringing joy to your events helps people to see past those things that others might see as debilitation. So bring joy.
And we've had some world-class speakers who have had disabilities that actually use it as to their advantage and get paid to speak about living with disabilities. So thank you so much for sharing that, Roxanne. And thanks for all the good points you put in the chat. Thank you very much to my co-hosts, my co-trainers, and my chat master. Kevin, you did a fantastic job. And like myself, I know Tina LeBlanc is so happy that her TLI is complete.
In fact, all the TLIs are complete. So give
Yay!
yourselves the giant hand. You've
We're
done
jumping
it. You've
down.
gotten trained.
Thanks everybody for attending, and I hope you got a lot out of it. We will share the PowerPoint with you.
And I will save the chat as well if anybody wants a copy of it. So thanks, and thanks Kathy, and thanks Kevin, and thanks Amy and Linda and Roxanne and everybody else who contributed, and I appreciate it.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Woohoo.
It's cocktail time.
Yes, I gotta go walk my doglets.
Yeah.
Good job, everybody.
Very
Thanks,
well
guys.
done. Very well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is
Michael?
great.
Michael, now you're one of the